The Cybertruck is still not real according to some genius comments I've been reading online, despite deliveries have already begun, despite incredibly positive Cybertruck reviews on YouTube, despite people having toured the very production line where they are being built. I mean, how stupid do people have to be to cling on to their desperate need to be right by suggesting that the Cybertruck is still not a real product? Aren't people weird? Anyway, speaking of that, I'm Will, this is the Tesla Jigsaw. I've also seen the massive negativity suggesting that the Cybertruck will be the flop of all flops, or the hard of all hard, I guess. Insert gag there. Yeah, who in their right mind would want one of these? Regardless of the awkward backlog of, so I hear now, 2 million pre-orders, and despite massive internet search interest for the Cybertruck since the delivery event, and despite people's subjective views over its looks, people are clearly waking up and can't help but be impressed with the Cybertruck's revolutionary design, capabilities and performance, just as myself and others have been predicting since Tesla drove this metal cheese triangle on stage 4 years ago and showed us quite clearly that this would be revolutionary. Now I've had a chance to devour all of the new Cybertruck online reviews from the likes of CarWow, Top Gear, and my favourite being from Jason Camissa of Haggerty. I'd never heard of that, to be honest, but he's great. It's obvious beyond doubt that those who have spent time putting the Cybertruck through its paces are massively impressed. Jason here seems to have had somewhat of an awkward epiphany towards Tesla, and even declaring his love for the Cybertruck after admitting he went into filming this wanting to hate it. I'd highly recommend not only watching his review, but listen to the 1.5 hour podcast on the Curmudgeon Show, which I think highlights exactly what's going to happen in the minds of typical petrol heads, truck guys and even Tesla haters that will have to go through the awkward realisation at some point and admit that the Cybertruck is, as Jason brilliantly puts it, Truck 2.0. How is it so revolutionary then? Well, its outer shell is so tough it doesn't need side impact protection bars. And it can be hit with a sledgehammer with 0 damage. A crash test like this would total other cars and quite likely its occupants too. As with all Teslas, safety is paramount. The Model S, when tested, broke the crushing machine as it wouldn't crush. The Model X would not roll over like a good boy, and the 3 and the Y scored so highly it broke the scoring system. How else is the Cybertruck revolutionary? It leaves its competitors in the dust with a 0 to 60 in 2.6 seconds. Blistering performance from a 3-ton truck. Then there's the industry-leading 17-inch ground clearance thanks to the adaptive air suspension. It can off-road like no other. A whopping £11,000 towing capacity, again outperforming anything. And it does all this using half the battery pack size of the electric Hummer, yet offers more range, more performance, more capabilities and better everything. 4-wheel steering is made possible using steer-by-wire, as in there's no mechanical connection between the steering wheel and the front wheels. Instead, a group of sensors interpret it all for the driver, changing the steering ratio depending on the environment. At slow speeds, a 180 of the steering wheel gets you a U-turn in less of a radius than most cars. How cool is that? And it's taken the big-brained engineers at Tesla to implement this for the first time in a vehicle. Despite other car companies trying unsuccessfully for decades to implement a 48-volt system in cars, Tesla just managed a complete redesign of the whole wiring harness, reducing copper usage by half and using 77% less cabling within the Cybertruck. To add insult to injury, Tesla sent every CEO a slightly passive-aggressive free guide of how to design a 48-volt vehicle. What's so great about 48-volt architecture, you might not be wondering? Well, a ton of cost savings by using less materials, which will hopefully find its way to the consumer's purchase price. And a lot of weight saving, which is even more important for electric cars as it helps with efficiencies. 48-volt systems have the benefit of increasing power to components without raising the current. And if you just consider how many electrical items run in today's modern cars, that's quite a benefit. In short, 48-volt delivers much higher levels of power across thinner, lighter and lower cost wiring harnesses, and is just more efficient in handling the electrical components within a car. Expect to see this on every future Tesla and quite possibly applied to all current models too. No other company has bothered implementing these difficult necessary changes despite them making sense a long time ago. Yet another smackdown from Tesla to legacy automakers. If you're enjoying this so far, please hit that like button, it really helps. Ta! The reason I highlight a few of these points is again to show Tesla's utter dominance in not just the EV space but the entire automotive industry. As Jason Camissa puts it,
I would hang myself if I worked for a traditional car company right now, out of sheer embarrassment. Like when they start pulling this thing apart, their mind is going to be blown to the point of like, Why do we even come to work every day?
Yeah.
Brutal, but he makes a fine point. If you understand the leaps in advancement that Tesla has made over the years and the engineering genius within their vehicles, there is no hope for traditional auto companies ever catching up, let alone regaining their competitive advantage. The inescapable truth here is that legacy auto companies are as good as dead. Whether you like that or not, or have an emotional attachment to the internal combustion engine or fossil fuel industry for some weird reason, this to me is an incredible moment in time, witnessing the beginnings of an exciting electric future with very clear, better products like the Cybertruck, abilities to transform our homes for the first time into independent energy hubs, and on a grander scale, switch the world to a sustainable electric economy future. Of course there's a long way to go and a lot to do, but without Tesla, we are not going to get to this admittedly slightly idealistic, better future, are we? No other company on Earth is taking on the disruptive challenges necessary to improve our way of life. Disruptive being the key word here, the Cybertruck is the perfect example of throwing away the rulebook and starting again. How many people, I wonder, are able to throw away their outdated opinions and change their minds too when faced with the facts of better technology? It has surprised me how stubbornly hard people cling on to the inferior tech of the internal combustion engine and all the wastefulness associated with running them. I don't know, in my mind, if something's broke, it needs fixing. Tesla has already done this with cars, batteries, energy storage products, manufacturing, even lithium refining. Everything Tesla touches gets redeveloped, improved and fixed in some way, making a laughingstock of those companies that have stayed stagnant for decade after decade. Will other traditional car companies follow suit and copy the Cybertruck? Of course not. They haven't even figured out how to copy the best parts of the Model 3 yet. As I previously pointed out in videos, just copy Tesla. Would have been a good starting place for traditional auto companies, but no, we're going to throw on a vertical screen instead and lose the ability of an arcade theatre landscape orientation of a Tesla screen. We'll even add more buttons rather than follow Tesla's minimalist simple design, which of course eliminates costs and complexity in manufacturing, as well as giving a better user experience. Would you like to go back to using a button-covered BlackBerry? No, of course not. Customisable, simple-to-use interfaces are clearly for the win. Oh, I know how we'll increase the range, Mary. Double the batteries, ignore efficiency. Well done, Mary. You led. It mattered. Bravo. Yeah, I'm looking at you, electric Hummer, you great big bulbous blob of inefficiency. It's quite clear by now that legacy auto companies will be dead before the decade's end. They have not switched to compelling EVs with the urgency required. What we can expect to see is CEOs quietly exiting the collapsing companies without a shred of remorse for the tens of thousands of workers that are about to lose their livelihoods. It's tragic, unforgivable, and could have damn well been avoided if these companies weren't so hell-bent on short-term profitability rather than investing into better future products, or weren't focusing on pleasing directors and shareholders and ignoring the disruptive superior technology of electric cars since Tesla laid down the gauntlet with the Model S almost 12 years ago. The reason Volkswagen, Ford, General Motors, Stellantis, Toyota and others are underwhelmed by electric vehicle sales of late, but pretending that customers perhaps don't want EVs after all, is this simple fact: they have not made compelling enough EVs, and consumers are finally starting to spot that. It's Tesla and the Chinese manufacturers that will mop up the sales of EVs as we start to see the utter collapse of the internal combustion engine market. There will be, though, many companies trying to come up with something Cybertrucky to offer. A quick search reveals this already. A California-based startup called the Edison Future. That's about as original as Nikola Motors, isn't it? The EF1T pickup truck might make it to production. Don't let this great CGI fool you into thinking it's real yet, though. As of today, it's about as real as a Nikola Badger. Let's see. No price, no release date. Don't hold your breath then. Any Chinese cyber copies? Nothing to report so far, unless you count this creepy, strange Tesla fan-made Cybertruck spotted on a road in China. Kind of reminds me of this somehow. Well, much better than I could do, to be fair. As the Cybertruck's aesthetics continue to split opinions like Marmite, it's going to be fun watching the Jason Camissas of the world go from loathing to loving the Cybertruck. Perhaps those who are not willing, or dare I say capable of changing their opinions when faced with facts and evidence, might just stubbornly hold on to their views and continue the hate, rather than admitting they were perhaps wrong and be aligned more with Luddites, rather than bothering to embrace better products and a better future. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What have I got wrong? Do you love it or loathe it? If you hate it, can you at least respect it? A massive thanks to these 10 incredible people who are supporting me on Patreon. Feel free to help me out too, get your name up here, and I'll be sure to add more value to you over on my Patreon page, which you can find in a link in the description below. I'm Will, this is the Tesla Jigsaw. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.